Hello everybody, today is Friday, September 30th, 2022. As usual, my name is Jake Baldino, here to talk about all the video game news that has been going on this week, and there's quite a bit to talk about. The first is a death. We've had a death in the family, and that death is... No, it's fine. It's just Stadia.
Oh, okay.
Yep, you heard it here. Google has officially announced just the other day that they are shutting down Stadia in January. One of the leads behind the project, of course, if you know video game history, Phil Harrison said specifically that it just didn't get enough traction with users, and that's about it. The tech is apparently going to be used for other Google services, which I will say, we did a video on Stadia, then we revisited Stadia after it fixed some things a year or so later, and it was all right. And the service, the actual technology behind it, was pretty cool. I was actually pretty curious of the potential if they could reach it, where you could simply just click a link that you saw in a YouTube video and just instantly play a game. And there's a little bit more complications to that, and I think most people just really didn't go for it. We can spend a whole video talking about streaming and how it works for some things and it doesn't work for other people or other consumers or people in different regions. The fact that also you had to actually buy games on this Stadia platform. And interestingly enough, with that, the craziest thing I think about with this news is the fact that they're refunding everything. They're giving you I'm getting money. They're refunding hardware and software purchases. So if like you bought games on Stadia platforms, Google's just going to pay you out. That is, like, I don't know how business works, but that seems like a huge L to me. One unfortunate downside that I have seen in the gaming industry was that there are developers, a lot of smaller indie developers and stuff like that, who were working on games for the Stadia platform and didn't even get the heads up that it's shutting down. So I'm curious to see where that's gonna go. But I do also want to shout out to the people that did stick with Stadia. There's actually a group of people that are diehard about Stadia and have stuck with it and have been logging a lot of hours on it. And Kotaku actually did a pretty interesting article about them. I'll link that in the description down below if you want to check that out. But a lot of those people yelled at me when I first talked about Stadia, and I get it. But unfortunately, that's where it's at now. The one thing people are requesting is that Google unlocks the Bluetooth for the controllers so that the controller just isn't like a waste and goes in the garbage and just creates more clutter. Hopefully they actually hear people and unlock the controller. I think that would be a good last thing for them to do, especially for the people that stuck with it. But that's where we're at now with Stadia, another footnote in gaming history. I don't think this is the nail in the coffin or like the end of streaming or anything like that. I know a lot of people think streaming isn't the future, and I know that's not really how I want to play my games, but the tech is still out there. People are still investing in it, and I think there's a place for it somewhere. But the way Google did it didn't seem to work out, and also Google bails on projects all the time. In other news, of course, if you've been paying attention to this type of thing, the Modern Warfare 2 beta has been a thing people have been playing, and it's worth pointing out that there seems to be a lot of issues with cheating. Eurogamer and a couple of other sites are reporting, and I've seen a lot of clips on social media. I personally haven't dove in myself, so I just want to say that, but just seeing what's going on online, it does seem like there's a pretty big issue with cheating in this beta. Now, I know it's a beta, and that means there's technically still a little bit of work to be done, but this does come hot off the heels of Ricochet. A lot of people have been talking about their whole anti-cheat software and how Activision has claimed that it is really upgraded this time around, and unfortunately, doesn't seem like it's doing much because we've seen aimbot hacks, like wall hacks, all the typical stuff you'd see, to the point where people are, once again, if you're playing on console, turning off the ability to crossplay with PC people, because that's where these issues usually lie. Full transparency, I don't know if you guys know this, but I don't make video games, so I can't be like, just fix it. It's easy. Like, I have no idea. But at the very least, I think it was worth pointing out, and I do want to know specifically from some of you guys out there who did jump into the beta, what are your thoughts? Just about the game itself, but also specifically about some of the issues. I've heard some glitches, but also this whole cheating thing. Did you encounter any? Let us know. Oh, and an interesting game announcement. This may have flown under your radar, but I think this is pretty cool. This is EA working with Koei Tecmo and the team behind Dynasty Warriors. A pair-up I never would have imagined, but they've announced this game called Wild Hearts, and essentially, this is kind of like a competitor almost to Monster Hunter. This is another Monster Hunter-like game, which I think, you know, as long as EA doesn't do their EA thing with it, I think that could be potentially cool. This game, Wild Hearts, is like kind of like a fantasy feudal Japan with big monsters that you go hunting, cooperatively or alone, with a lot of emphasis on using kind of like makeshift technology and traps and tools to hunt down these monsters. Once I got to see some of that tech in action in this trailer, I thought it was pretty cool. I think this should be like a genre or a subgenre of games. We need more Monster Hunter-like games. And the monster designs, like the creature designs they have going on here, do look pretty cool. So again, you know, we have to actually get our hands on this thing to judge it, but I'm just curious to see where that ends up going. I wanted a surprise last-minute shift. Scorn, that like creepy, gross, horror-esque game, is actually releasing a week early. So it was slated for October 21st, which is right around the corner. Now it's October 14th, so you can get your hands on it a little earlier. They may have just kind of scooched away from other game releases. Seemed like a pretty quick, agile, strategic move. There are previews out there. People have gotten their hands on this. Some people are into it. Some people aren't. We will be making a before you buy video, which should be dropping before the game releases, so keep your eyes peeled for that. I just like gross, spooky stuff, so fingers crossed. Next up, just some cool things I linked in the description down below, some trailers and stuff. The first is a new trailer for the Callisto Protocol, which I'm actually not watching this just because I've seen enough of the game. I'm into it. I'm going to buy it. So I don't really need to have anything else spoiled. But if you want to check that out, apparently it's a pretty impressive trailer. So that will be linked in the description down below. Also, like kind of like a early gameplay video of The Finals. Now, this is a competitive multiplayer first-person shooter, which immediately made me say, another one, huh? But this trailer and the actual tease from a few weeks back caught my eye. This trailer is super flashy and edited like hell, but apparently from some YouTube creators that I've spoken to, the game actually is pretty cool and like fairly promising. So I have a trailer for that linked in the description down below. Maybe something to just keep your eye on, keep your ear to the ground for if you're into competitive shooters. But also, I've linked a trailer for Vampire Survivors hitting its official 1.0 release. It's leaving early access October 20th, and this is like one of my favorite little $3 games. It's like the best $2-3 you can spend. Some tweaks, language support, and just a bunch more stuff coming down the line for it. It's very addictive, be warned, but yeah. Also, I just wanted to share this, that this is actually from more like last week, but it caught on my radar now. People are using the Grand Theft Auto 6 leaks and poring over them and using math and estimation and just being smart and having time on your hands to actually like give an outline of the in-game map. Now, it is not done and it is not perfect, but I think it's pretty crazy that people are taking the time to do something like this. It also shows how much stuff leaked. They're going over screenshots, different angles of things to try and approximate where things will be. And I just really appreciate the dedication. Like just the amount of time, the amount of, like this year I was like, I need to make sure in 2022 I read more books. I've read 2 books the whole year. Then you have people doing crazy stuff like this. Like, I gotta get my shit together. Anyway, Sony, of course, has talked about moving big into live service games. Big AAA live service, endlessly playable type game experiences. They were public about that, and now we're starting to get a glimpse of it. It seems Jetpack Interactive is a support studio. They've worked on a lot of Sony stuff, worked on the PC port of God of War. It seems like they're actually working still on God of War, leading to a lot of people speculating that a God of War Ragnarok PC port is already in the works. But what I think is actually more interesting is that they put out job hirings to hire programmers and developers for an upcoming live service game, but actually specifically a new live service title with Sony that we're ready to launch. It's a big AAA thing. And apparently they are, and I quote, working directly with Sony to develop one of its flagship IPs within its much anticipated live services games portfolio. So what does that mean? A flagship IP in their live service portfolio. Is that a new intellectual property or an existing Sony thing that they're turning into a live service game? Are we getting Battle Royale Jack and Daxter? 1,000 Otzels drop onto an island. That's a terrible joke, sorry. Maybe they're bringing back SOCOM. I don't know. Who knows what they're doing, man? You could speculate all day, but something is in the works, whether you like live service games or not. Not my thing, but I just found this interesting. So if you want to read up on it, it's going to be linked down there. Oh, and last but certainly not least, we got $70 Switch games. Yep, as if Switch games and Nintendo products weren't expensive enough. Todd Howard, Bethesda, they have officially gotten the first $70 game on Nintendo Switch, and it's Skyrim Anniversary Edition. Now, as you probably know, Skyrim was already on Nintendo Switch, but the Anniversary Edition that came out last year that kind of added more updates and some of like the DLC mod stuff into the game, just another endless re-release. Now it's finally on Switch. It just showed up this week, and it does, I think, officially mark the first $70 Switch game. So there you have it. I should have picked a cooler story to end on, but sorry. Well, that's what's been going on in the world of gaming news this week. A little bit of a slower week, but still stuff worth talking about, and plenty of things going on behind the scenes for upcoming games that we're working on. So keep your eyes peeled for before you buy some stuff like that. October is going to be pretty busy. But I want to know what you guys are thinking in the comments, for real. Let me know what you think about this live service Sony game thing. Are you excited for Scorn? Are you happy about the bumped up release date, especially after it got delayed so many times? Again, I wanted to know your experience with Modern Warfare 2, the beta, if you were playing that, but also Wild Hearts. What do you think about that? Are you a Monster Hunter diehard? How do you feel about somebody else stepping into the ring? Let's talk about any of this stuff down in the comments. We definitely want to hear from you. Are you still a Stadia user? You're probably mad at me right now, but it wasn't my fault, all right? Let's talk about all this stuff down in the comments. We'll be down there as much as possible. We always are, but things get a little chaotic. So if you want to yell at me directly, Twitter and Instagram and my other YouTube channel, Jake Baldino. But thank you guys for being here every Friday. We appreciate it. We'll always be here for you just to get you caught up on the news. So clicking the like button helps us. Thank you. But that's really it. Have a great weekend. Be safe wherever you are. Hope you're doing all right. Thanks for watching. I'm Jake Baldino. Pizza's on me.